Welcome back to another episode of the Be Better podcast. I'm your host. My name is Harrison Orr. I am the creator, the founder of Primal Energies, the mushroom company, which is what I'm going to talk to you about today, because this never started as a business. And to be fair, this is not just me talking about my story of how I created this business, but I hope this inspires anyone that's kind of thinking of starting that side hustle, that business, that project, whatever it might be. And I hope my story helps you to actually start taking action if you're not in that space already, or if you're kind of starting that journey to actually pursue that little bit harder. And so for me personally, Primal Energies, which is now a business, never started that way with that intent. Right? It never started with the intention of, well, there's a gap in the market. Mushrooms are trending right now. I'm going to make a business out of this. I'm going to try and make some money out of this and just see how it goes. That was not my intent at all. So I've been into my health and fitness for basically my entire life. I've been an online coach for about 5 years. And as part of as part of coaching and being a personal trainer and helping people in that space with their health, supplementation is one of the things that most people ask about. What do I need to take for supplements? How do I improve my fat loss, my energy, my performance, my sleep, and all these things? And so I was a bit of a guinea pig in my own journey of just taking all the supplements, right? Take double scooping the pre-workout, taking sleep blends, taking recovery blends, taking all this stuff. And I get to a point where I was taking so many capsules and pills and powders. I was running around like I was basically rattling at some point, and it really felt like I was taking so many of these things, but for what? Like, what am I actually doing here? Why do I feel like I need so many of these pharmaceuticals to function the way that a human should function? Like, it just didn't really make sense. And I've always prided myself on having a holistic approach or a healthy approach to health, but it never really dawned on me the natural approach to health in terms of utilizing nature and things like that. And from my chefing days and just personal interest, I always like growing my own food. And so when I started getting into the coaching space, and we started talking about different supplements and protocols and ways to go about that, one of the other coaches that I was working with suggested mushrooms. He's like, hey, these are getting pretty popular. Have you tried any of these mushrooms? There's one that you can take for sleep or stress. There's one for energy. There's one for brain health, your immune system, and all these things. And I was like, what? Mushrooms? Like magic mushrooms? And no, they don't make you trip out. They're not going to spin you out and leave you frolicking around the forest looking for fairies. They're medicinal mushrooms. And I know a lot of people still have that same reaction of thinking that medicinal, because most people associate that word with medicinal cannabis or medicinal weed. They assume, oh, it's illegal. It's just in this fringe line right now. Like, nah, man, I don't want that. I don't need something illegal. I don't need to trip out. I got shit to do. But it's not. I learned this, and so I want to convey this as well, that medicinal mushrooms, or not many people call them that anymore, but they're not the hallucinogens. They won't make you trip out. They won't make you hallucinate or see weird things or anything like that. They won't get you high, nothing like that. And most places now called what were medicinal mushrooms, functional mushrooms or adaptogenic mushrooms. Mostly because, in terms, at least in Australia anyway, calling anything medicinal then means if you're selling that product, it needs to go through the TGA. You have to get it classed as a medicine, which is A, very expensive, B, very time consuming, C, a pain in the absolute ass, and then also you're going up with a hell of a lot of other brands that don't really want natural companies like that to natural products like that to succeed. So we can't call them medicinal, right? So they're functional mushrooms, or they're adaptogen mushrooms, or they're just mushrooms. And so he said, have you tried these mushrooms? And I was like, no. And so he sent me the link, gave them a try, and these were the ones that I tried were just the mushrooms. Like, I know you can get blends of a lot of things, or you can get ones that have different additives and all that kind of stuff. This was just the mushroom in tincture form. And if you're not familiar with a tincture is a blend of alcohol and water for the different extraction processes. And then you just put it under your tongue, put it in a drink, and you just drink it basically. And tried them and was extremely impressed. I felt a noticeable difference in my mood, in my energy, in my sleep, in my mind, and I was won. Like, I was won over by the effects of this product. And so I thought to myself, geez, these are just mushrooms? And then so I thought at the time that they were a little bit pricey for what I thought they were. And so I just went down that rabbit hole of, okay, well, if they're just mushrooms, what, can't we grow them ourselves? And then so went and did this face-to-face event of how to grow oyster mushrooms, which are super easy to grow, by the way. If you're looking into this, you want a little fun little project for the kids or even for yourself to grow some food at home, highly recommend checking out oyster mushrooms. You can get different colors and like different things like that. Really cool, really easy. And so I went and did this course, and then they spoke a little bit about other mushrooms like lion's mane or reishi and turkey tail, things like that. And then that's when I started to grow those mushrooms. I started with reishi. That was the first one that I ever grew, and was literally growing it on cat litter. Like, so cat litter, if you're not, there's not dirty obviously, but it's just ground up like cardboard basically. So you can grow these things on cardboard. And started growing on that, and it actually came like they fruit, and I was amazed that out of seemingly nothing, like just some spawn from the mushroom, like seeds kind of thing, and then some water and some cardboard, and you've got mushrooms. I was like, this is insane. And then I went down the rabbit hole a little bit deeper, like, okay, now we've got mushrooms, how do you make a tincture, right? How do you extract mushrooms? Like, what's that extraction process look like? And then so went down that rabbit hole. Like the first blend that I ever made, I used literally just vodka that I bought from the local Dan Murphy's, and it was probably like 50% alcohol. Like, the ratio was all wrong. Like, it tasted like a dirty shot. Like, it was not pleasant. But after tinkering with a couple of things, kind of got the ratio right, and actually really liked it. And I wouldn't say the taste, the effect is what I liked. But then I also started to think, this is where I refer to it as like the chef or the creative side of my brain kind of kicked in, of like, well, this does one thing. Like, you take this for sleep, for stress, things like that. But what other ingredients could we combine with this mushroom, with this blend to enhance that, right? Because I don't know about you, but I've never once, even through my love of mushrooms and my journey here, I've still never once woken up and think, you know what, I really, really need some reishi in my life right now. I really feel like some cordyceps or anything like that. Like, it's just not a thought that crosses my mind, because mushrooms generally, like the medicinal mushrooms, they taste like ass. They're not very pleasant to taste. And so when you take something like this, it's like any supplement that you have. You want a benefit. You want a specific benefit or effect, or you're taking it for a specific use case, right? And so nobody just wakes up and says, I'm going to take reishi today. Like, well, why am I taking this? I'm taking this because I want to feel less stress. I want to support my nervous system. I want to feel calmer, or I want to get a better night's sleep. Awesome. So what other adaptogens are well known and are used and are quite potent in that space? And then I got to the point of deciding on rhodiola. Rhodiola rosea has been used for many, many years for that same benefit. It's also known as an adaptogen, which is, what helps your body to adapt to stress so that you can handle more stress. Stress doesn't affect you so negatively. And then combining that with chamomile. Chamomile is what a lot of people use it as, obviously, a tea for relaxation, for calm, and just before bed. And so I combined the three of those and was actually extremely impressed by the effect. It was almost an immediate effect it was like when you get to the end of the day and then you just sink into your favorite chair and you've just kicked your shoes off and you just feel that weight come off you and just that big sigh of just that that relaxed, that de-stressed feeling. And that's what it felt like. And then the coaches that I was working with at the time, we had a weekend meetup because we're all online, so we're not in the same physical space. We met up, I took it to them to try, and they'd all tried, obviously, they'd been a similar journey to myself. They'd tried, the other mushroom brands. They'd also tried a stack of supplements on their own accord through their journey and got the same effect. And were really impressed. And they said, like, man, if you can produce this consistently, if you can make more of this, we'll happily suggest this to all our clients. And given that, we were already suggesting the mushrooms to clients, just obviously the different brand, now it was just a simple swap. And so that's when it started to become an actual business concept for me. And literally, I was selling them through Facebook Messenger. Like, one of the other coaches or someone would connect me to someone that, like, hey man, this guy's looking at getting some mushrooms, or this guy, needs help with his sleep. Like, what do you suggest? And it was literally through Messenger. I didn't have a website. I didn't have a way of taking money. It was literally, cool. What's your address, man? And here's my bank details. And that was the operation, basically. And I think at this point, something I want to highlight at this point, which can make starting a business or the side hustle or this passion project or whatever you want to call it easier, I'd say, but also potentially more aligned. If you're already doing something, if your current main job is something that you love, that you're passionate about, that you don't see yourself stopping anytime soon, but and this side business, side hustle, side project, whatever it is something that is complementary to that becomes extremely valuable when they can work synergistically. Because naturally, luckily for me, I already had the audience that would use something like this, that were looking for those supplements. I also already had a level of authority with these people in terms of they regarded my suggestion for supplements for health higher than just random searches on Google. And I also had a group of other coaches that were doing the same. So that reach was automatically much bigger than I could have cultivated on my own or by just starting a social media platform or social media channel. And so I think that was a massive blessing for me. Like, if I didn't have that situation and the backing from those other coaches, this wouldn't have turned into a business. It would have just been this side thing that I'm doing for myself, and it would have stayed as that. So extremely grateful for those guys. And so then I created that blend, and then we started selling it to the other people, and then progressed on to then growing lion's mane as well, which was the next one that I added to the blend. And same kind of process. This is awesome. How do we make this even better so people use it for focus, for brain health, things like that? But also, I wanted to make sure that, because a lot of people use lion's mane for sleep as well. So for your REM sleep, it's been shown to improve that. So one of the caveats to the other ingredients for lion's mane had to make sure that it wasn't a stimulant. So it needed to improve brain health and performance, but not as a stimulant. So I landed on blueberry extract. Antioxidants in blueberry have been shown to improve like neurodegenerative diseases and brain health, as well as Bacopa monnieri, which was the other one that I included there, which has been shown to enhance memory and cognitive function, things like that. And so that's how I got the first two blends. And this was still insane to me that other people were willing to pay me for these products. And it was something that I started with as just, well, I'm doing this because I like it and because I want these things. And so it reaffirmed to me that no matter who you are, if there's a need that you have in your life, a problem that you want to solve, I can guarantee there's other people that want that thing solved as well. Right? And so it just inspired me to look at other ways to solve problems that I'm having or things that I'm kind of dealing with, because I know that I'm not the only person in this situation. And so fast forward another 18 months, 2 years, and then I got exposed to ceremonial grade cacao. And if you've never had a ceremonial dose of cacao, I highly recommend trying some. So you can get this, you can get ceremonial grade cacao from, most local health food stores. Just go to the cacao section, and it comes in a paste form. So it usually comes in blocks or chunks. And a ceremonial dose is usually anywhere from about 40 to 60 grams. And then you just add some hot water to that, stir that, blend that up until that's smooth, and then you drink that. And it's similar to dark chocolate, not as, maybe like 70 to 75% dark chocolate. Like, it's not super bitter, like 90%, even though it's literally just cacao, but it still has the fat solids in it. So unlike cacao powder, which has the fat solids removed, ceremonial grade cacao is the rawest and most unfiltered, untouched version of cacao that you can get. So it's not roasted at high heats. It's not manufactured in any sense. It's still got the fat solids, and it's still got all the good stuff in there. And so when you drink it, that's what gives you the energy, the mood boost, the creativity even. I know in the spiritual space, a lot of people refer to it as a heart opening type of experience. So, often when you would have a ceremonial dose, a lot of people would then transition into some meditation or a breath work, or, some form of like internal work, hence the ceremonial component of this. And so started using that, and was really impressed again by how amazing that was. And then I can't remember what shifted, but then decided to try it with lion's mane, and then added some cordyceps, and started to get these effects. Like, I'm feeling energized, but I don't have the jitters. Because I know personally, when I have too much coffee, like after about my second cup, then that's when I get the jitters, and then I get really irritable if things don't go my way, and then, or there's an inconvenience. And then later on, I'll get a crash, or in the afternoon, I can't have coffee because it'll ruin my sleep. So there's like that big gap of, well, I really want something, and I don't just want, the tinctures are great, but I still love from coffee, the experience of having that warm drink. It tastes amazing. You get that sensation, and there's that whole experience that's involved in consuming it. That's not just, I want to feel the effect. I want to have more focus. I want to have more energy. I want to have this. Right? And so I started just playing around with that. And then, because I'd seen a lot of people talk about like mushroom coffees and these other alternatives, and it just didn't make sense to me, because I'm like, if you're going to have, because all the mushroom coffees still had coffee in them. And I'm like, well, if you're going to have coffee. Why are you ruining it with mushrooms? Like, mushrooms don't enhance the taste of anything. You're taking it for an effect, right? And so I was thinking, why would you, and I'll probably be proven wrong with this at some point, but like my mindset at the time was like, why would you do that? If you're going to have a coffee alternative, do you not want it to not have coffee, or to not have the caffeine in it at least? Because all the alternatives that I saw still had either caffeine or coffee in them, and then just a bunch of shitty little mushrooms. And so what I also noticed was, a lot of them would advertise that they have 8 different types of mushrooms, but it was counterproductive. Like, you'd have things like cordyceps for energy, lion's mane for focus, but then you'd also have like reishi for calming of the nervous system and relaxing, and then you'd have something else for like your immune system, and it just felt like they just thrown everything into the cup as a, here we've got everything type approach. But it's like when you take a multivitamin, there's like lots of little amounts of stuff, but nothing significant to do anything that you really want. And so I was just baffled by that approach. And so they've got all these mushrooms. They've got tiny amounts that aren't enough to notice any significant difference. It's not going to be the greatest tasting blend ever. And then even the quality of the mushrooms, they were using mushroom powders, and mushroom powders that weren't even just the fruit body. They were using powders of just like mycelium as well, which, if you're not familiar with that, the mushroom is like the fruiting body, which is like the fruit, like the actual mushroom, and then the mycelium is the equivalent of the roots of a plant. And so the roots obviously go into the dirt and things like that. So the mycelium is wrapped around the substrate that it's grown on. So it can be cardboard, it can be brown rice, it can be hardwood, sawdust, any of those things. And then so a lot of the time you get those fillers, that sawdust, that cardboard, that brown rice, with the mushroom. And so some people will debate me on this, but personally, I don't think that there's enough benefit in consuming the mycelium to warrant consuming also those fillers with it as well. So I prefer just fruiting body, because you know that that's the most potent thing, because that's where the good stuff is. And so they had just powders of this stuff. And just so everybody's aware, when you're consuming mushroom extracts, like it's traditionally used as either a tea or a tincture. And the reason that it's consumed that way is because there needs to be an extraction process to make the beneficial properties bioavailable for us humans. Because you can go and eat gnaw your way through a cardboard, rubbery, wedge of reishi, or of, a stick of cordyceps, or any of these things, and you won't get many of the benefits. You won't actually get any of these things that the research has shown us that they're actually good for, because it's not bioavailable. Our bodies can't break those things down and actually use them. And that's why you either serve it as a tea, because you've boiled out some of the hot water extractable benefits through that process, or you've used a tincture concoction and extracting them through the alcohol and then the water process and combining them. And so if you're just consuming mushroom powders, then it's just the mushroom dried, powdered, and then added to your product. And so there has been no extraction process. Your body would then still have to do that, which is going to do a very poor job of. And so that's how a lot of those companies keep their costs down so low, because that stuff is cheap. Because there's no extraction process. There's no those processes which are needed for you to get the most out of it. And so I was seeing all these holes and these problems. And what frustrated me the most was that people, having read very little about mushrooms, very new to using those as part of their day, were having this experience, and then we're not feeling anything. And then we're just blanket labeling mushrooms as a scam, as bullshit, as they don't do anything, it's rough. Because the one time that they had tried them, they'd tried these shitty products that weren't great quality and were not even the extracts, they were just the powders. And so that was why I was so driven to make Brain Juice, was because I wanted to right those wrongs. I wanted to give people, and myself, again, selfishly, a coffee alternative that you could have just about any time of the day and not ruin your sleep, not get the jitters, not get anxious. Have it taste incredible, which ceremonial grade cacao does, because you don't need to have milk with it, you don't need any sweeteners, you don't need any of that stuff to make it taste delicious because of the fat solids in the cacao. It uses lion's mane and cordyceps extract. Like it's 13-1 extract of cordyceps, which means it took 13 grams of dried cordyceps, extracted and dried down, equals 1 gram of the extract powder. And you get a full gram of that per serve in every cup of Brain Juice. And then in the lion's mane, it's 10-1 extract. So 10 grams of dried lion's mane condensed down and extracted in equals 1 gram of the extract powder. And again, you're getting a full gram of that per serve in Brain Juice. So you're getting the equivalent of 23 grams of dried mushrooms, whereas other brands will literally have 2.8 grams of dried mushrooms total. So it's like over 10 times the amount. And it's only the ones that you need when you're trying to take something for focus, mood, energy, that good stuff. And so that's what led me to creating that Brain Juice. And I seriously drink at least 2 of these every single day. It's absolutely incredible. And my sleep is untouched. I have energy all day. I don't get the jitters. I don't get these crashes, these waves, or anything like that. Even if it didn't give me the boost in energy or anything like that, I would still drink it because it tastes amazing. I still just love the taste of it. And so that's what's led me to where Primal Energies is right now. Like it's now my mission to make brain juice the number one coffee alternative in Australia, because I know how much this can benefit people, especially people that are being negatively affected by coffee. So people that are either having too much caffeine, because trust me, I've been there. I've been tired, I've been grumpy, I've been living off 10 shots of coffee a day, and everything was a mess. My mindset was a mess, my stomach was a mess. Like I was always irritable, I was always anxious, my sleep was shocking, like it was not a fun time. And so for the people that are relying too heavily on coffee, there's now a replacement that you can still have, whether you're at a cafe or you're sitting at home, you want that experience, but you don't want any of the jitters, you can have this. The only people that won't like this are the people that don't like chocolate. And I can't say I've met too many of those people in my life. So, but then also the people that work those horrible shifts, like nurses or doctors or people on night shifts, things like that, where it's like that 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning type time, and you want a bit of a pick me up, you want a boost, you need something to get through the shift, because you got to be alert, you got to be on your game. But you know that you finish your shift at like 6 o'clock, and then you're going to go home and try to go to sleep. So if you have a coffee now, you're going to be up and it's going to ruin your sleep. Plus, it's going to be daylight when you try and sleep, which makes it even worse. And so you're in that middle ground of, oh, do I push out the next 3 to 4 hours and just try and make it through and hang in, even though my eyes are hanging out of my head? Or do I have a coffee, bite the bullet, have energy now, and then just deal with trouble sleeping later? And so for those people, and for people that want to have more energy in the afternoon, because like imagine this, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so big on health and performance, is most of us can be pretty productive and focused and energized first thing in the morning, right? It's not too hard. Like we've just had a good night's sleep, hopefully you've just had your breakfast, maybe you've just been to the gym, or you've had some time in the sun, you've done something like that, and you're fresh for the day. You get a couple of hours worth of workout, and then you have lunch, and then there's that afternoon slump, right? You have that dip in energy and motivation and all those things, and then you kind of just trail off for the rest of the day, have dinner, go to bed, and like whatever else. But imagine if that afternoon portion could be just as productive as the morning. Like how much more work would you get done? How much more effective would you be? Like, especially if you're someone who's trying to start a side hustle, you're trying to do some extra learning or something outside of what your main job or your main study is right now, and you need that focus, that energy, and you want that boost after you get home, after you've done your main thing, and cool, it's now time to work on you and this side thing. When you want something that's going to help with that energy, that mood, that focus at that time of the day, but it's not going to ruin your sleep, that's exactly where brain juice comes in. And so because helping people like that, not only does it help them individually, but even like from my coaching, I've seen how much of an impact it has by each person being at their best physical health, being at their best performance, and just loving life, because it not only affects you, but it affects your partner, it affects your kids if you have some, it affects the people in your workplace, it affects your friends and your neighbors, like everyone that you touch in life, it affects. And so if this side hustle that you're doing, if this work that you're passionate about, if this thing that you're doing, if you have a way to enhance the results that you get, your productivity, your rate of growth, the money that you can make, or the impact that you can have, then, and brain juice is the way to do that, then I don't see anyone that this doesn't benefit. Like it's my mission to help people live to their highest potential, because I think if we all live to our highest potential, then like imagine what the world would be. Imagine how like the reduction in problems that we would have, the the increase in energetical vibration, and just the goodwill of humanity as a whole, and how much better we'd all be. Because I think that'd be pretty cool, right? So that's my direction at the moment. That's where I started with Primal Energies, through this little self-discovery journey, and where it's at now. And so I know this has been a bit of a selfish spiel, but I hope if you're someone that's thinking about starting that side hustle, that passion project, whatever it is, that this inspires you and motivates you to go and to make that happen. And so to finish this, by the end of this year, and that will be 3.5 years since making Primal Energies official, buying the name and all that stuff, then it's on track to replace my main source of income, replace my coaching as like financially, and I get to do even more of this cool stuff. And so I know people might think, 3 years, that's a long time. But 3 years is going by whether you like it or not. If you can do it doing something that you love, something that you're passionate about, something that you would do whether you could make money out of it anyway, I think that's a pretty damn good place to start. Because things will get hard and things will get tough. But when you love what you're doing and there's a bigger mission involved, a bigger purpose for you, it makes those hard times a lot more tolerable. And so I'll wrap it up there. Again, I hope this has been inspiring and motivating for you. As always, please take action on something that you've heard from this today, whether it's just a follow or like of the podcast as a whole. The more people that I can share this with, my mission, Primal Energies, the Skool Academy, all this stuff that's aimed at helping people live to their highest potential and be their best, then the better, hopefully, that we can all be. And so with that, remember, don't be sorry, be better. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.